You are listening to the Keenan Vision podcast, produced by SalesforceDevOps.net. This is episode 13, broadcast Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. Prodly, Salesforce DevOps Top Products Demo with Vern. Let's commit. Welcome, everybody, to the Keenan Vision podcast. I'm here this week with David Clark from Prodly. And Prodly is a Salesforce DevOps Top Products Gallery member. So, and we love to have all of those vendors here on the podcast. So I'm going to turn it over to David in just a second. And David, why don't you start off by telling us what you do for Prodly, how you help customers or work on the product, and maybe what you did a little bit before.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Really excited. Good to be back at Dreamforce and good to see you there.
That was fun. That was a change of pace for sure.
Seeing everybody in person
compared to this.
Had to get a haircut. No, it's so good to be here. I'm the VP of product at Prodly. Just been in the ecosystem for nearly a decade. I'd known Max Redman, the founder of SteelBrick, when I joined Salesforce in 2013 on the CPQ team, and was a product manager there doing all sorts of things with products and price books. And I moved on from there to Einstein Bots and a product manager on Service Cloud. So I've been in two different clouds. And then just in the last year, Max convinced me to come over here to Prodly. And so now I'm shaping the world of DevOps with Salesforce. So really excited to be here.
A lot of Salesforce blood in there.
Yes, you can see it run. It's all from all the Kool-Aid I've been drinking.
Great. So why don't we just get right into it? Why don't you tell us about Prodly? You can bring up a slideshow if you like, and then we'll dive into the demo.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Just pull this up. Yeah, so Prodly's sort of vision or mission for being the next gen DevOps solution in the market is to bring teams together to release things better and faster on Salesforce. We like to think we're a little bit different because we're empowering more of the business users to sort of get the best practices and the best things all that existing inside of DevOps, things like work management and version control and having access to good test data. And we want to bring those things to your average admin. And so we have a variety of different solutions we have in the market right now. We have a tool, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, that helps you create sandboxes and populate them with sample data. And if you have a CPQ or a Service Cloud implementation, you'll have that rich sort of data for testing and building. We also have something we just launched, which is a work management integration with Agile Accelerator and Salesforce DevOps Center. So if you have a work management tool, that's a really, really neat thing. You should be checking out.
I'll definitely have some questions about that one.
No problem. And we also have some other capabilities around release, which is all about getting your work into QA into production quickly, accurately, and without a lot of headache. So doing all this in a sort of a safe, repeatable process gives you that peace of mind. So you're not up on the weekends, figuring out, making sure all your stuff got into production, broke anything. And then for all of you, IT and SecOps people, just having the compliance and security controls in place to make sure you have the right people doing the stuff and it's auditable is really great. So excited to show you some of this today.
And so let me see if I got one of the main value props for Prodly is that you're really focused on those business creator types, the admins, maybe low code is how you would describe them, right? So and I think that's coming from the top, from Max and so forth, kind of like the focus on how products like Salesforce CPQ actually operated, because you're using the admin interface to do everything, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, creating a new price rule shouldn't involve like finding some JSON file and inserting some code like that used to be in the old big machines days. So he he found a big opportunity in the Salesforce platform, and just that whole point and click experience, just so empowering. And we want to make good on that for all applications.
And I think along the way you felt how that's enabled your customers as well, right? So that's created a nice feedback loop.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are in the situation where they're having to work across the aisle with different teams and different groups of people. And I think people want to feel empowered and be able to do the job. And being able to do it in a Salesforce UI makes that certainly a lot more possible for a lot of teams. People are probably wondering, like what's inside the box. And so I got lots of boxes here. We've been talking a lot about like different words, right? Like work management or releasing or sandbox seeding. But what we're really thinking about is how do we bring these sort of historically considered, DevOps capabilities like work management and release automation. How do we make them more Salesforce-y? How do we bring them into, Salesforce ecosystem, right? So I know when I was working at a smaller company, we didn't really use a work management tool when we were managing Salesforce. We kind of just had a spreadsheet and we just talked to people and they told us sort of what we needed to build, and then we went and built it. But as we're learning more and more, there's so many benefits to using a work management tool. So we're going to showcase how you can use one of Salesforce's free tools called Agile Accelerator to help you manage the work process. And then there's this idea of release automation, which are all the tools in place that are helping you move the work itself, the data and the metadata through various environments so you can test it and promote it. And then finally, as we talk about the productivity tools, just having the ability to manage your sandboxes and be able to report on who did what is really valuable.
So I think this is great because it shows Salesforce DevOps.net readers are probably familiar with the map that I've created. And this checks off a lot of boxes on that map. And I think the thing that I like to call the work management portion here is application lifecycle management, or ALM is a commonly used acronym that kind of describes what you're doing there. So I just wanted to make sure that the management aspect is front and center in this whole thing.
Oh, that's spot on and wonderful. I think it's definitely, as you think about how do you show the value of what you're building and how do you know what you built, having this documentation or integration, having it native is super important.
It's essential. I mean, it's required if you're building a critical application with governance. So
that's right. So let's see some of this in action. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm ready for the demo already. So salivating.
Two slides is all you gave me. So the first thing that we're going to get into here is a little bit around environment preparation and getting ready for a new project, which many of you are probably thinking, okay, like how many environments do I have? Which ones am I going to use for this project? Well, as you can see, we're logged into Salesforce, and for those who don't know, Prodly is a native application. So all of the UI and data persists inside Salesforce. So really, really friendly with those product security reviews. But as you can see here, I'm in sort of this AppOps release tab, and I'm connected to a bunch of different environments. And these are, you install Prodly into one environment. It's typically your production environment, and then you connect all the various environments you already have set up. Maybe they're full copy sandboxes or dev environments. But let's just say, I'm starting a new project and I need to spin up a new box for one of my developers on my team who's doing some of that configuration, creating some new products or prices, or they're setting up a new chatbot or something really cool. Normally you could go to the sandbox page and you could click, request sandbox. But Salesforce is offering these scratch orgs, which are really a powerful feature for, spinning up quick environments. Typically these are only available through command line through DX. So what Prodly's done here is we've made it so that you can spin up a scratch org right from the UI. So I don't have to have anything installed on my computer. I don't have to know anything about command lines, anything. I just come in here and say, new dev project. It can use the org shaping process. So for those of you who are familiar, this is a setting you turn on, and one of the orgs essentially says, hey, use me as a template, or you can create a new org shape. And then down here, you can select your duration. And then what it's doing now is it's checking to see what packages are installed, and it gives you the option to install the packages as well as part of the process.
So this is fantastic. It's what I do in SFDX CLI, but I don't need that anymore for this to use a scratch org.
No, no, that's right. You can get a just sort of this blank org ready to go, um, in just a matter of just a few minutes. It doesn't take a long time at all, and we think this is going to make that
Huh.
that process of getting
Because
ready.
that's one of the complaints sometimes about scratch orgs is that it's time consuming to deal with them.
Right, right. And there's nothing in them, right? There's typically, I mean, I should take
Yeah.
that back. There's all your metadata from your branch, right? If you know what that is. But here we're just allowing you to kind of get that same experience you have around just requesting a dev box.
But to do a scratch org, you're not transferring the data like a sandbox.
We're not doing that yet, and that's the next step. So let's just say,
Wow.
I've created my scratch org, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I really would love some sample data in there. I don't really like creating, users and accounts and all that. So we have another feature called Sandbox Seeding, which gives you the ability to take data from, say, your production environment, and you can populate it into, let's just say, a scratch org you just created. And part of the magic of Prodly and some of our what makes us really special is we have tons of these automation recipes where you can essentially select something called a deployment plan, which is one of these recipes to say,
Mm.
I just want to bring in all of my revenue and Sales Cloud data, or my B2B commerce data, or our CPQ
So
data.
you,
It's very complicated, so just bring it in.
so with this, you've pre-figured out how all of the dependencies basically.
Yeah, the dependency tree, the order of insertion, all the objects and fields. Yep, all that's
Which all that to create plans and activities to do all that stuff is extremely time consuming. So this could save hours.
absolutely. Not only do you not have to figure out the objects, you don't really have to know anything about these applications. So we're talking about ease of use again. It's very easy to use. You can start populating data in just a few seconds. The other feature customers really love is having the ability to preview the deployment. So if you want to take a look at, how much data is going to get moved in, you can go ahead and do that here as well. And
Does this
yeah,
then help you avoid deployment errors?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, this will. I'm sure this has never happened to you where you're doing something with data loader and then oops, and you're like, I didn't mean to insert it twice, or this is the wrong file, and then all of a sudden you have an extra couple thousand records in your environment you got to go clean up. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, much worse. Much, much worse. Much, much worse.
So here I can see kind of what's going to get inserted, and sort of the final thing here I'll show is just having the ability to actually view the records themselves, which is really cool. So I can see what's getting put in there. And then really the last thing I'll say on this is you can make every one of your dev boxes like a full copy sandbox, which I know you're not paying a ton of money for full copy sandboxes, right? So really,
Ah,
really powerful, right?
that's interesting. And so to clarify, this is generally what I call the ancillary metadata in an org. And we've talked about this, right? You guys have a word for it as well, I think, but this is, so I'm able to, for example, test one of these applications in a sandbox or in a scratch org now. And since they're so data dependent, not just on the users and stuff, but just on all this other kind of like database data, but still kind of like setup data or ancillary data to the application, like
Right.
CPQ, for example.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely right. A really good example is one of our customers runs a commerce site using Salesforce, and they have something called promotions, which are offered through B2B commerce. And promotions aren't represented in the system as metadata, right? They're just they're like a row of data you can set up and test. And so imagine a world where I want to test promotion interactions for discounting and making sure that as I introduce a new promotion, I don't want to, offer too much off, or um, I may not be able to sort of test this promotional rule in the interaction with all my other rules. So being able to bring that, as you said, ancillary metadata or configuration data into a sandbox and do that testing, rigorous testing prior to promoting, gives you that confidence and really improves the quality of the release.
Well, plus it just gives you another tool to manage it, which is this data can be unmanageable to some degree.
Yeah,
So I think just to have a tool that lets you centralize the management and to coordinate activities around all that stuff is very useful.
that's right.
Awesome.
So yeah, so now we're ready to go with our new environments. Environments are ready to go, and we can start work. So why don't we switch gears a little bit and talk about work management and how it works with Salesforce. So inside of the environment we're currently looking at, I've also installed a application called Agile Accelerator, which is it's a free product on the Salesforce App Exchange. It is a work management solution that is used by Salesforce to develop software. So it's like a Jira or like a Monday, or some tool that's designed to sort of manage projects and work items. And Salesforce spent a lot of time developing it and thought, gee, we should make this available to all our customers. We really like the way it's designed. And so they built the package and they deployed it and made it available for everybody to use for free. So we thought, let's use what Salesforce is using. Let's use a free tool any admin today could go and download and start using. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with sort of some of the general work management concepts, typically you have something called like a project, which you're managing, where you have sort of a start and an end date, and you have stakeholders, and you have links to requirements. And for those of you who also are starting to learn about DevOps Center also has the same concept of a project. So something Prodly has done is we sort of taken Agile Accelerator, DevOps Center, and Prodly and sort of brought them all together to create this completely native Salesforce DevOps solution that you can get and use together. And what we're doing here is we're sort of keeping in sync the Agile Accelerator projects and the DevOps Center projects so that you essentially have a seamless process for this.
Well, yeah, that's great. I mean, the DevOps Center integration, I think, is interesting. Kind of it's a first for Salesforce DevOps platform to do the integration where you're already managing one kind of what I call the ancillary metadata, and now this allows you to also manage the processes that go along with managing the quote unquote real metadata, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's right. DevOps Center it primarily all it does is move metadata, right? So it does it.
Yeah, it's not a platform; it's strictly a tool.
Yeah. So just to kind of walk you through a little bit of what we might imagine you using the tool for. You might have a big project catalog overhaul, or maybe you're launching a new line of products next month. So you'd set up one of these projects, and then underneath the project, you would typically have, sorry, we're down here. You have a bunch of work items. So these are sort of the individual tasks you assign to your team.
Mm-hmm. And that's it's also the task that DevOps Center cares about.
Exactly. So I'm in here, I'm authoring the project, I'm authoring these work items. What you would typically do in one of these work items is describe the functional requirements. So this is where you would go in and you would describe what the product should be doing, or if you're changing a major workflow or an automation, you have some requirements here. And the importance of doing this is really around documentation and reducing tech debt, because believe it or not, this instance is going to be around here a couple of years. Somebody's going to come back and say, hey, I don't remember why this particular thing was developed, where this product was developed, and you'd actually have some English version describing what it does. My description is a little light here, but that's the idea, is you have that documentation.
Right, and again, this stuff is critical when Salesforce is doing something important, like if you're changing how you manage your PII because of cybersecurity concerns or something like that. Also, if you're doing financial transactions with customer data, or you're in the pharmaceutical industry, or you're actually a financial services company like a bank or a lender, all of these people are now using Salesforce to do their critical activities. And you absolutely have to do this type of documentation to understand changes that have been made in the system.
That's right.
That's my speech on critical applications. So.
No, I was with you every step of the way. This one work item is going to represent not just the text description though, but it's going to link to the DevOps Center work item. So as you go and actually finish the work, so typically you assign this to some sort of developer. In this case, Jay Manning is going to be the one doing the work. He can go and log into the environment that we just created in the Scratch org, and et cetera. And then he's going to come into DevOps Center. And what he's going to do is he's going to look for that work record. And this is where the magic of DevOps Center kicks in, because now you can go in and you can, let me find one that's not.
He's already done it.
Yeah,
he's very efficient.
He's very fast. This is where DevOps Center is detecting what changes Jay made, and it's associating them to this work item. And then it's following that sort of healthy pipeline promotion process to go from his dev sandbox to QA, and then ultimately, after it gets reviewed and tested, finally to production.
So it did handful like 26 or pulled out 55 XML files. And now it's going to shepherd that through a release process.
That's right. I didn't have to go into a spreadsheet and sort of keep track of all my metadata changes. I didn't have to go into a change set and manually select all of these. Mm-hmm. They're detected, they're associated to the ticket, and then you start managing and promoting that work item.
Does it work on Scratch orgs now too, or will it?
DevOps Center, yes. Yeah, okay. It needs to work with any org that has sort of the I'm forgetting the word. Needs to have one of the settings enabled, but yes.
Okay. Oh, when you create your Scratch org, you have to do a setting.
That's right.
And since you're creating them, you probably make sure that happens.
That's right. You have to have like the change tracking feature enabled so that DevOps Center can detect the changes.
Right. It's using the built-in capability as SFDX, what is it, force source pull, or so it can pull the changes based on an internal tracking system. So that's good. Excellent.
This is really exciting. I mean, hopefully you can see a little bit about how we're connecting the work management and DevOps Center together, two normally disparate solutions. Sort of, at least the data is in sync, and you're able to sort of work on these different steps in the process. But Jay also went in and he didn't just make these metadata changes. He also added a ton of new product records and some different product configuration rules and some prices and, you name it, right? He added a bunch of data, and that also needs to get promoted from his dev sandbox to this QA environment. So I'm going to show you really quick what that looks like, how Jay can go through that process.
Okay, so now you're going to show us how we're putting the ancillary metadata and the Salesforce metadata together so that we don't miss anything. Okay.
That's right. No, that you nailed it. So we're going to show you how we're going to move the ancillary metadata from his dev box. We'll just pick one of these here to a staging environment. So as you can see, Prodly has this feature called guided deployment, which allows you to move any metadata or data from point A to point B. If you're using sort of Salesforce DevOps Center, you may choose not to use our metadata deployment capabilities. But we do have the ability for, say, like a hot fix, or maybe you want to just make a change outside of the normal deployment pipeline. You can use our metadata tool,
So
which,
I don't have to use DevOps Center if I don't want to.
yeah, exactly. You can just use Prodly to, move any sort of metadata. We support over, I think, 350 types of metadata components. Um, so most customers
You
who
don't have the client control and other features you get from DevOps Center, but functionally you can get the job done.
Absolutely. And it's certainly a lot better than change sets, and a very flexible tool when it comes to, choosing your source and destination. You don't have to build pipelines. You don't have to connect it to a repo. You don't have to know anything about source control.
That's an existing feature. It's been in Prodly for a while, and DevOps Center is new.
Exactly. Yeah. So this feature right now, what it's doing is it's loading all the metadata from your source org and your destination, and it's comparing the differences. And when it's done, it will look something like this, where it's showing you the different things that have changed. I can see that there's certain components that are only in my destination environment. If I wanted to only look at the things where that are just in the source, I can filter that down quickly and
Mm-hmm.
see that this new work rule entry object is only in my source org. But it's not letting me deploy it because it's managed. So it's part of a managed package that's only in my current source org. So it's just giving me a lot of information around what's changed, making sure I have the right dependencies in place. And one of my favorite features is being able to filter down just by, let me clear this one out, just by an individual. So if you have multiple people working in the same environment, I can say just filter down to the things that Susie worked on, mass select those things and deploy them. So saving me a ton of time in the release process.
Yeah, these are all major time savers. And then the comparison between the two orgs in this kind of preview method is it's a feature I call metadata intelligence or metadata IQ, and it's really essential to have this kind of feature. It really speeds things up when you're trying to figure out the differences between these orgs, because again, if they're not synced up properly, the release management process can go haywire.
Yeah. So going back to the ancillary metadata conversation, that's deploying all our metadata. So we're just going to close that for a second. And this is where we go ahead and say, okay, I want to just deploy some of that ancillary data, metadata or configuration data. And so just as I showed you in the sandbox seeding demo here, this is where we select one of these sort of automation recipes where I say, hey, I want to move all of my product data, or hey, I want to move all of my Revenue Cloud CPQ related data. And this is where it has that magic recipe for inserting and selecting all the right objects and mapping all the IDs, which is a really big deal because you don't want to be inserting duplicate products, for example. So we have a global ID system, which says, if you seed data from a production environment into a sandbox and make changes and then reinsert it back up, we'll know that it already exists so you don't duplicate it. It's a perfect example of one of the key features that we provide. And we have, over 100 customers using this particular feature today, just because of how much time it saves and how consistent it is for moving complex data.
Do you have any nice stories about saving days of time or giant mistakes? Or
Yeah. So one of our customers, Nutanix, they use this the programmatic version of this feature. So there's an API that also allows you to do this, where they have 3 different teams that all manage CPQ. They have different business units. And what they do is they use the API and a scheduled job to sync their development environments and their QA orgs nightly. So they can constantly be testing and checking for any sort of collisions or errors on even in the development process. So just that one step of constantly syncing that config data is saving them, you couldn't even do that manually because it would take so much time. And then the benefit they're receiving is not just in time savings, but it's in the actual quality of the work in the development process, because now they're catching interactions much earlier in the dev process. And it's completely changed the way that they're able to do work. So very exciting.
that's interesting to hear because that's a good example of automation going beyond just doing what people could do manually and introducing new capabilities. So it's great to hear about those kind of stories.
So anytime I'm updating maybe like my product or pricing information, I get a little bit nervous. So this is a great way. Once again, I can come in here, I can preview which data is going to get sent over, which products. So you can see here, I have some description here. These can be configured, but you can see, I'm inserting one new product. I'm going to update 107. I'm adding some new pricing rules. I can come down here and see exactly which products are getting updated. And we're innovating all the time, right? We're a SaaS platform. So this is a brand new feature. We're just starting offering this preview capability. So if I want to come in here and see exactly which price rule is getting updated or inserted, I can go ahead and do that.
I guess it wasn't in this package.
Exactly. And then the other thing we're going to offer in the future is the ability to manually select individual rows of data to get promoted. So if you want to get to that super granular level, giving you even more control and flexibility in the release process.
That's awesome. I think we got a minute or two to wrap up here.
No, that's perfect, because I just want to show you very quickly the results. So for all of those who are worried about being able to have sort of that audit history, you can come into the deployment results. You can see that this is a data deployment. You can see for each record you've moved, you can see the source and destination. You can see who modified it and what happened. So really easy to pull these up in Salesforce reports. And if you ever get audited or have to do a SOC 2 compliance review, these are very, very helpful. Saved our customers a lot of time in that process. And then sort of the last thing I'll show you very quickly is just, not only do we have the ability to do org to org for this configuration data, but we also support source control driven development for this configuration data. So if you want to deploy instead from org to org, but instead from org to branch, and then deploy from a branch to your org, we also have that capability as well.
So if I'm out there with my VS Code and creating branches, those can be handled or deployed through Prodly.
Exactly. You can store all of your complex configuration data in a branch. And then when you go and you push that branch to the next level, you can use Prodly then to redeploy it all from the source control.
That is cool. Okay. So why don't you take down that fantastic looking screen there so we can have our goodbyes. But David, that was fantastic, showing viewers and listeners all about Prodly. And they can find out more information by...
Yeah, so certainly coming to our website. We'd love to showcase more of what we have there. It's really easy to get in touch with us. You talk to our bot if you don't want to talk to us in person. We're all about that automation. But happy to speak to you there. Or you can contact me on LinkedIn, or it'd be great to hear from you.
And it's Prodly, PRODLY.co, correct?
That's right.
Okay, great. And okay, David and everybody, thanks for listening to this edition of the Keen Vision podcast, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Keen Vision podcast. Please come visit the SalesforceDevOps.net website and sign up for email notifications of significant updates. Thanks to 10 Ton Chicken for the music, which is available on iTunes. And also be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review about how well we did on this podcast.